Growing up, I was the middle of 5 children. Our family was a great family. There was no physical abuse, any kind of a neglect or anything like that. Our parents were great. They tried to instill in us values. The important things they wanted us to know about were God, family, and hard work. We didn't go to church very often. I remember as a child going to Sunday school, and I remember sitting in what we called the big church, sitting on a pew with my parents and my siblings beside me, listening to the preacher, talking. And as I got older, I realized some of those lessons stuck with me. We were a poor family. We didn't always have what we wanted, but we always had what we needed. Our parents made sure of that, and we were taught to work for the things that we wanted. So when we were old enough, back then that was the age of 14, we all got jobs and worked towards helping the family. One of the things that I remember is Sundays, a lot of times were times when I would have to work. I would have to go in. I worked at a grocery store, a local chain, and we didn't really attend a church regularly. Around that same time, at the age of 14, I made a plan. I decided that I didn't want to live anymore. And I had this plan in my head, and one day decided that I was going to act on it. And in the midst of carrying out this plan, God stopped me. And I remember in my head, what went through my mind was that the words of the preacher from the church we grew up in, it was a Baptist church, and him talking about how we're all sinners. And I had never said the prayer. I had not accepted Jesus as my Savior. I had not acknowledged that He came to earth and He died on the cross for me specifically. And at that point, I cried because I knew that if I went through with the plan, that I would not go to heaven. And I would spend an eternity away from God, and I would spend an eternity away from the people that I loved. And that was terrifying to me. And I prayed right then and there. And I asked God to forgive me for everything. I wasn't a bad child. I was my parents' good child, the one they didn't have to worry about, and made good grades. I was never in trouble. But that doesn't mean that we're not sinners. And I was a sinner. I still am a sinner. I ask for forgiveness. God forgives me of my sins. And from that day forward, my life changed. I sought out churches. I went to different churches that I was invited to by friends. So it's very important, I think, for youth in the church to reach out to people that they go to school with, people that they know outside of the church, and ask them to come to church with them, because that is what spurred me to go to different churches in the community. Not all of them were Baptist churches. So it wasn't until later in life when I met my husband and we got married and we started attending a Baptist church that I actually made a public profession of my faith and was baptized. That was one of the best days of my life, was getting to stand in front of the church and say that I trusted Jesus Christ as my Savior, and that I wanted to let everyone know. And I have no doubts about where I'm going now when I die. I don't fear death because I know where I'm going.